This is French onion pasta. Making the French onion soup the other day got me remembering a recipe for a pasta dish that was like French onion soup. We're going to use the Dutch oven also, but all these original beginning steps here are very much identical to the French onion soup. So if you want to watch a more detailed version, jump over to that video I posted earlier in the week. But we're just going to half some onions, cut them into 1/8, 16-inch slices, as thick or thin as you want in your dish. The thinner, the more they'll kind of melt away. And then we're going to caramelize them. These can go a little less brown than you're going to do in a normal French onion soup just because they're not 100% of the dish. But if you want to bring them just as jammy and caramelized, totally fine. But throwing those into some butter and olive oil we've already had cooking down. We're going to salt it. We're going to pepper it. I don't pepper my French onion soup, but I like to do this. And then we're going to mix it together and just let this do its thing, 30, 45 minutes. If you want to go that full hour, go right ahead. While that's happening, we're going to chop up some mushrooms. So these are just baby bellas. I only like to use the mushroom tops. The stems are a little too kind of hard for me. They're like a little woody and earthy still. Obviously, mushrooms are earthy to begin with, but I think the tops are just better overall in this dish. So chop those up. Once the mushrooms get to the point you basically want them, throw those mushrooms in. They're going to continue cooking in the sauce, but this is just to give them a little bit extra color and mix in with all the good flavors right now. Once you see that really good little brown bits forming on the bottom too, we're going to also deglaze. You could use a white wine, like I said you could use in the French onion video, but I'm going to use bourbon. I think it just gives this dish a little elevated flavor. Not a lot, maybe half an ounce, and then just scrape up those little bits on the bottom. Try not to absolutely destroy your onions or your mushrooms in this case. But once you get that all done, we're going to throw in beef stock, way less than before. This is maybe 4 ounces of beef stock, and you want to reduce this. At that moment, throw your pasta in. Your sauce will come now together in the time it takes to make your pasta. This has been boiling for about 2 or 3 minutes. I'm going to add a little bit of cheese to start helping it emulsify. Some people like to add flour like you do in French onion soup, but I don't think that's necessary in this dish because I'm going to add the slightest bit of cream shortly, and that does all the work thickening it up. Now at this point is when we're going to add the cream. You had it boiling, it's reduced. This is about half an ounce of cream, maybe an ounce at most. This is not a cream forward dish. You're just using it to help emulsify, thicken, become a beautiful, rich sauce. And now let that continue to reduce maybe by another half until you get the consistency of sauce you want. If you need to add a little pasta water to help it, that's totally fine. Here is where I think it's going to be perfect. So I'm going to add that pasta in directly, let that water come in with it, totally fine, and then we're just going to mix it together in this pot. Just keep mixing. The more air you get into it, the more emulsification that happens naturally. As you can see, this is right when I put it in. Right now, cut into this shot, this is about a minute of mixing, and those onions have basically just kind of become the sauce. They are very hard to pull out individual pieces. Obviously, there's some larger ones in there, but the bulk of them are just sauce now. You have some mushrooms, but it's just absolutely perfect. It gives body. Tried to get fancy here with my plating. Didn't work. We'll get there someday. Plating pasta is really hard. But that's it. Top it with some cheese at this point. I'm also going to throw in some chives. Normally with pasta, I would add a little bit of parsley on, but since we had chives for the French onion soup, I said let's stay in that traditional boat. And we threw some chives on it, and that's it. This was absolutely delicious. It's very deep kind of beef flavor. It is a fantastic break from your normal creamy, cheesy, tomatoey pastas. Not an Alfredo. This is a beefy French onion soup tasting pasta.